So what's like an average day for you?
Well, I have a New York strip in there defrosting for when we're getting done with this. But I don't eat steak every day because it's expensive, but I basically eat about a pound of meat in the morning, and usually ground beef. I love ground beef because it's got a lot of fat in it and it's easy to make. And then for dinner, I will have usually the same thing. And I usually eat about 10 or 11 and then maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that goes pretty well. I've tried to skip dinner, and I probably could, but what happens is I tend to get hungry about 10. And then it's too late to eat, and you won't, so it's just kind of irritating. Like, and I probably could go through it, but just because I've had so much trauma around dieting, I just feel like forcing myself to like fast just seems like, and then the next day I feel hungrier and I feel like I want to like overeat the next day. So it seems like it's not really worth. And I mean, I like what you say about the fast mimicking effects of carnivore. And I really believe that, I think people want, if it's not quite perfect, they want to push it to extremely perfect. And it's like, well, is that really going to get you what you want? And I think we're just a perfectionist culture, especially the women. And there's a tendency of people with autoimmune disease to be perfectionistic. And I think sometimes we just get addicted to like the dopamine of fasting and things like that. So it's like, really looking at your motivations can help, because sometimes it's just an extension of that, that dieting culture, or that, that mindset, that eating disorder even, it's like, it's still there. It's just changed faces.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's been my main message ever since I started with all of this, is you don't need to fast all the time, because if you are restricting carbs, you are getting all the benefits of fasting. You're getting so many of the same pathways activated. And if you're eating like many of us do in this space, 2 meals a day, that's 140 hours in a week that you are either in the post-absorptive state or absorptive state. You're not taking in any food, and that's 140 hours a week. Like, that is so healthy. That's a ton of intermittent fasting. You're giving your body time to process everything, assimilate everything, and not be in this fed state all the time. So I really don't see the point or purpose of doing or pushing yourself ever. Like, the whole point of doing all these interventions and protocols we do is to feel good, enjoy life, to be pushing yourself, to do something like fast. I actually was going to tell you, I was listening to, I think it was the Paul Saladino, Rob Wolf podcast that came out last month. And Rob Wolf said that there's a DNA test that one of the, I guess, like phenotypes or something, was found to be extremely averse to fasting. And I was like, I thought of you. And he's like, yeah, people who have this, genetic background, they get very uncomfortable fasting. And it has to do with the history. And he explained it. He got into depth about why it was. But I was like, I bet Caitlin maybe has that, where she's just like, but a lot of people, I like that you articulate that and explain to people that, you don't have to push it. I always say it should just happen organically, because you're so well nourished that you're not preoccupied with eating. You're just living.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching something. People text me all the time saying, oh, well, how should I start? Should I start carnivore with a fast? And it's like, no. You should eat. And especially the first month or so, I ate 3 meals a day. It took me a while because it was such a difference, and I didn't want to fall on my face and into a Lily's bar, so I was like, I need to eat 3 meals a day, just because I wanted a diversion from thinking about sweets and stuff. And so if I was just full all the time, I couldn't think about going to the store and getting, a chocolate bar. So I think it's really important to kind of overfeed at the beginning
Yes.
and not worry about it at all. And then after that, you can adjust.
That really helped me with getting off the chocolate was if I would have a craving for it. It usually was in the evening and it was a habitual thing, but I think at the beginning it was also still correcting some mineral and nutrient, needs. That's why the cravings are happening. So I would just make scrambled eggs with some butter, and it was so delicious. And, whenever I had any kind of craving like that, just go and eat something. And it really, really helps just to provide some kind of replacement, because I realize, like, I'm having a craving for this, my body still is hungry, it needs something, so there's something missing. It's and it's a huge, huge help.
And the big thing is electrolyte balance too. Like sometimes I'll just take salt so in these empty capsules, and I'll just take a couple because sometimes that's just an electrolyte imbalance too. And like if you notice you're super thirsty but you drank a lot of water already, that's because you have probably already eliminated all of your electrolytes. So you really need to stay on top of that, especially when you're adjusting, and it'll make your adjustment period a lot better.
Yeah, I really think it's important to supplement with sodium.